The summer season has been long and it has been fruitful, but from a crochet perspective, I am ready for it to be over. I'm sick of making summer tops. I've still got one summer dress in progress, but I'll probably leave that for midwinter when I get sick of making sweaters. I always start the next season quite early, and it's August now, and I've got 2 sweaters in progress and 2 more I've got the yarn for, and I've got everything ready, so I'm moving on already, and I thought that it would be a nice way to finish off the summer by reviewing all of my summer tops, because I've made quite a few this summer and also all time. So I'm going to start in a chronological order with my first ever summer top. My first summer top was this blue, super cropped, it's almost like more of a bralette, to be honest with you. But I made this before I really had very much crochet experience, and I didn't follow a pattern. I've only followed one pattern actually. Okay, 2 if we count a hat pattern that I made. So one of these tops is following a pattern, the rest of them are self-drafted, but they're very basic, and I'm sure if you're an intermediate crocheter you could probably replicate them if you wanted to. So I've basically figured everything out by trial and error, and this top is no exception to that. It was originally supposed to be a halter with these straps tying behind the neck, until I figured out that it's very difficult to tie these kinds of thick crochet straps. They don't stay in a very tight knot, so that wasn't really feasible, so I ended up making this cross back because I made them so long so that they would be able to tie. The yarn here is something that I inherited from my grandmother. Must have been bought around the year 2000. I highly doubt that it's still for sale, although some of the other yarn, which was from the same time period, I did find at a Michael's, so you never know. I unfortunately don't have the brand or anything. It might be Red Heart. That's my best guess. It's just this acrylic yarn. This was before I realized that I strongly dislike the feeling of acrylic yarn on my fingers. It really, it burns almost for me, so I never use acrylic anymore, but I don't mind the feel of it in this finished object. I basically just made 2 triangle bra cups, and I was quite proud of this because I figured out how to connect them in the middle before I finished making them, if that makes sense, so it's a little bit more modest. And then it's just a simple band. And I made this sort of a scallop detail in the end because I didn't have enough yarn to make it as long as I wanted to, and I thought this would maybe make it look a little bit more intentional. Now, the problems with this top are that it is too loose around the waistband. And that's to be expected because I chained along to begin it, of course, the waistband, and that created a tight fit, but the chain is always tighter than the crochets. So when I crocheted into that chain, it became looser. I didn't know that at the time, but you know, you live and you learn. The other thing about this top is I have no clue how I made these bra cups, because I'm looking for the increases and decreases. I think that I just didn't have any decreases, I only had increases, and the rest of it came from the shaping because it's a triangle. I guess that was my logic. It worked. The cups fit amazingly well, shockingly well. So I'll include a picture, but yeah, I'm quite proud of this considering that this was one of my first projects, and it's a wearable piece. I still have it. There are other pieces from that era that are not wearable that I do not still have, so it could be worse. My next top that I made was quite a while later. It is this Racerback pink crop top again, and this one is definitely a better fit. If anything, it might be the best fitting one that isn't a corset back, because obviously the corset back gives it a really good fit. This one doesn't have a corset back, and it doesn't need it. I think it's because of this kind of ribbing that I chose to do. I found with the more traditional back loop only half double crochet ribbing, it stretches out, especially in the cotton yarn, because all of these pretty much from this point out are cotton or cotton blends. This one is 80% cotton, 20% polyester recycled yarn, called Re-Cotton. It's a weight 4 yarn, I believe, and in the shade light pink. You'll see a lot of this yarn. I use this yarn, I don't know why I have so much of the light pink specifically, but I have it in many colors, you'll see. It's really good yarn for summer tops, I think, but it's quite stiff. But I don't mind that for a top because I like to have a bit of structure, especially if I'm not going to wear anything underneath it. So yes, this kind of front post, back post double crochet ribbing I think creates a better fit, although you can say what you want about how it looks aesthetically. I understand that it's maybe not as polished of a finish. And this Racerback I was extremely proud of. Again, one of those things, I figured it out in the moment, and now I could not tell you how I did it. I was really proud of making this in one piece because I hate sewing in the ends. So I wanted to find a way that I could make this all and only have the beginning and the end to sew in and not have to stop and restart. So it has this sort of detail in it, you can see, that matches this detail at the front. It has these chained sections in the middle. It's very cute. It is unfortunately pulling a lot because these straps are connected to the top here, and it pulls on this chained section at the front, which makes it not look as good as I would have hoped that it would have. So unfortunately, again, lesson learned, I wouldn't do this again. I don't really use chained sections within my crochet anymore just because I don't like this pulling that it does, where at the ends it looks really gapey, if you know what I mean. But alas, it's a cute top and I still wear it. I mean, with like jeans, shorts, it's really easy to wear, which is the good thing about it. Next top is this t-shirt in Lily's Sugar and Cream strawberry yarn and this same Re-Cotton yarn again, 80% cotton, 20% polyester recycled yarn in dark pink. Now, I was super excited about the idea for this top. I think it evolved from something quite different. It was originally supposed to be a similar top, but it was supposed to have long flared sleeves, like very 70s. And I still think it is quite 70s, just because of, I don't know, the V-neck line and the fact that it goes into the ribbing right underneath the bust. And then it has these sort of balloony sleeves. My main goal with this project when I was designing it was that I wanted to figure out how to do inset sleeves. And I did, and I'm very proud of that. And I actually haven't used that skill since then, but I'm sure that I will on some sweater project this winter. I also figured out how to do a V-neck line, which it ended up being a tighter neckline than I had originally thought of, but I think it still looks cute. It's totally wearable. I just don't reach for it very often because this Lily Sugar and Cream yarn is very thick. It's not the most practical, and it also doesn't look like clothing, if you know what I mean. I mean, they don't advertise it as being used for clothing, but I was like, no, but the colorway is so cute, and I've seen people on TikTok making bralettes or whatever with it, so I was like, I can totally make whatever with that. I don't mind a thick yarn, but in practice, when it's hot in the summer and you want to wear a t-shirt, I just don't know if this is what comes to mind. But the inset sleeves I am very proud of, and just in general, it's a cute top. I got some cute pictures in it, so it's a win in the end. Now, the only pattern included in this video will be this corset top. I was lucky enough to be chosen as a pattern tester for Orvaki Designs Tulip Corset. and I think it is so darling. I'd been following her for a while because I would always see these adorable little things, corsets that she would make in my explore feed on Instagram. And then when I saw this one, I was like, need. And I had never followed a pattern before, never had bought a pattern before, but this was the first time that I was like, I will buy that pattern. I need this top. It was just so the epitome of me. And then I didn't even have to, because I was chosen as a pattern tester, which was so delightful. And I got to make this beautiful top. So the black and the tan, which I used as the outline here, are a thicker weight for cotton yarn, 100% cotton. It's a Finnish brand. I believe it was Novita. And then the white is the re-cotton again, in a natural white color. So the white is a little bit thinner. It's still a weight 4, but it's a thinner weight 4, and you can definitely tell the difference. But anyway, I like the thick cotton yarn in this one because it adds a lot of structure. I mean, it's a corset, so that's what you want. The color choice I was also really proud of. Nobody else did anything like this. Everybody else had quite colorful corsets, and that was my other idea, and I still might make another one of these with still a white flower, but a blue base and then green stems. So that's still an idea that I have, and I'm kicking it around in my little mind, so we'll see what happens. If I get the motivation to make more summer tops at some point, and I'm sure that I will. Anyway, I love the design. I love that it's sort of understated, like especially in this colorway. You might not immediately, I don't know, maybe I'm like delusional. I wouldn't maybe immediately put together what it is, but then as soon as you realize it's just this such a cute little design, and it works perfectly with the body and everything, so I would highly, highly recommend this pattern if you were ever considering following it. I think it was very clear, and I also was able to use this pattern. I modified it. I used the skills that I learned in this pattern, like with making this kind of a corset, to make my next top. So you could argue that my next top is a modified version of the Tulip Corset, and if you wanted to make it, you could maybe buy the Tulip Corset pattern and figure it out. I don't know. I believe I called it the Pearl Corset or something, because it has these little circular cutouts that in the white top reminded me of pearls. This has been such a staple for me this summer. I mean, it's like obviously the most wearable of all the ones that I've showed so far. It's just a simple white tank top. Unfortunately, on my third wash, I think it did shrink, and so it's not so wearable anymore. But I do have it tight laced because I made these back panels too big. So I could probably lace it a bit looser and it might fit again. I haven't tried it yet. I haven't been bothered to. But maybe at some point I'll unlace it and relace it and try it on and see if that fixes the issue. I really hope that it will, because this was just so cute with everything that I paired it with. I mean, I posted so many pictures in this on my Instagram in like several different outfit combinations, and I don't think that it looked super repetitive because it's just a white tank top, so people probably weren't paying that close attention. Yeah, super cute. I like that it's almost like a flat neckline here, so you can't super tell that it has these like corset detailing, but if you know, you know. So my next tank top, which was really in the works for a very long time. It was one of the last pieces that I finished this summer, but it was in the works for a long time because I started it in February and I was working on it, and then I had to quit because it was going so badly. I had to redo it, I think 2 or 3 times at this point, and it's color work, and so I was so fed up with it. I quit it, and then I quit crocheting altogether for a few months because I was like, well, I was already overwhelmed with university. I was finishing my last year of university, and so I had exams and everything and my thesis and all those sorts of other business going on. So I just couldn't even think about how to fix this top, and I didn't want to start any new project until I figured how to fix this top. But finally, this summer, I was desperate enough to go back to it. So it is this adorable, I call it the Carnation top. That design right there is meant to be a carnation flower. I've heard different things. In fact, I've heard the same thing from different people, which is that it looks like an @ sign, like in an email address. Which, okay, fair enough. I mean, I see it. As soon as I said it, I was like, oh yeah, I guess it does kind of, because it has that little circle in the middle, but it is what it is. I think it's super cute. I was actually jealous because I made my boyfriend a sweater, a totally colorwork sweater, and it was so cool, and everybody was complimenting, oh, it's such great work, which made me feel great about myself. But I was like, wow, I made this beautiful sweater and now I don't even get to keep it. So I was like, I want to make myself something colorwork so that I can feel like I've gotten to get the fruits of my own labor. So I made this colorwork for myself, a bit more my style. And then yes, so the yarn here is again Recotton. I said it'd come up a lot. The Recotton in the shade light blue. And then this dark blue is again this thicker, wait for, it's the same as the black and the tan that I used in the Tulip Corset Finish brand. I've also gotten a lot of comments from people, non-crocheters, like people in my real life, who have said that it looks very thick, that isn't it too warm to wear in the summertime, which just confuses me, because it's not that thick. And I mean, crochet, like you can see, it has holes in it. It's very breathable, and it also cotton. So no, it's not too hot, it's fine. If that was a concern for anybody. I don't think that crochet really can be too hot because it does have holes in the fabric by nature. But that's just my opinion. Maybe you would disagree. I mean, obviously if it was a wool or something, then that would be a different story, but. Okay, so my final piece here is something that I was super excited about, and I got it done very quickly. But I made some obvious mistakes. Okay, so my concept for this was that I wanted to make a piece that was basically designed by AI. Not quite as such. I could have put it into ChatGPT, which is what my boyfriend suggested that I do, and that would probably make for a more engaging video, but no, I made it using a random number generator. So I took my scrap yarns. I had 7 colors, and I assigned each color a number from 1 to 7, and then I used a random number generator to generate the pattern. So I would always, when I would finish one row, then I would use the random number generator and then give me another row. And I didn't want to have any of the same color in a row, so it's always a different color each time. But this is how it came out. Now I feel like that was a great process crochet for me, because it was very exciting. I liked seeing what was going to be the next color. It made me very excited to keep going. I would always have to finish the row because I wanted to know what the next color was going to be. The problem was I don't actually love the pattern that I came out with. I don't feel like, I don't know. What do you guys think? I just don't love it. I feel like if I would have chosen the pattern myself, I would have chosen a different order. Personally, I don't love that there's like this blue blob in the middle that just really sticks out. And this at the bottom just looks kind of like vomit to me. Is this horrible? Anyway. But it was fun. It was very fun to make. And it is nice to wear. I have worn it. I had a family party and I wore it there. And it was very cute, I think. But the other problem is, because I wanted it to be the whole time in the same direction, like I didn't want to have to switch sides when I was switching rows. Does that make sense? Anyway, it ended up with this really squiggly seam back here because I didn't realize for a while that it was going gradually to the left, and then I tried to correct it by going to the right and then going to the left again. It was just a mess. But who's really looking that closely at my back? I assume it's not that big of a deal. But it is annoying to me as the person who made it because I know that it's there. So, all in all, I think that I've had some very successful projects, but I've also had a lot of lessons learned. And I hope that if you're watching this, maybe you can learn my lessons for me without having to make the mistakes yourself. So, if I were to choose a favorite, let's do a little recap. My favorite of all of these, it's gonna have to be this one, just because I've worn it the most, and I think it's the most practical, but also beautiful and classy and chic. Maybe I'm overselling myself. Like I would absolutely, but also the Tulip Corset would be, it's tough because this one I think is the most beautiful, but it's not wearable. I mean, I've never worn it out. I also made it a little bit too low cut to wear it, and there was a problem with the pattern that's been fixed if you buy it. It's been fixed if you buy it, but it was not fixed when I made this. So the straps don't really work very well for me. But if you buy the pattern, then you won't have that problem because we fixed it, the testers group. My least favorite, that's harsh. I don't want to choose a least favorite. I have a few in mind. Let's just say that. Let's leave it at that. All right. Thank you for reviewing my crochet items with me, and I hope you have a lovely rest of your summer and the beginning of your fall.